is up, everybody? Joe Everest, the fence expert, and we are live again from Fence Tech 2023 here in OKC, coming to you guys live from the My Salesman studio.
Yeah, we don't have a new name for that yet, do we?
Not yet. No, we're still taking suggestions. Still taking suggestions.
We got to call it something better.
Dylan Blanc had a suggestion. He put in the comment section, the Know Before You Go studio.
The Know, it's
That's
official.
A good one.
Dylan,
That's a good one.
Dylan, it's Know Before You Go
All right,
Studios.
that's what we're doing. Coming to you live from the Know Before You Go studios.
I love it.
I met Steve a few minutes ago here right in front, but for the 5 or 6 people that might not know you out there, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Steve Bennett. I've been in the fence industry for over 40 years. My dad started the business a long time ago. I grew up in it. Soup to nuts, basically, is what I've done.
Nice.
We own a number of different companies. One of them is called Fence Factory. Another one's Vinyl Craft. Another one's Perimeter Security Systems, Electronic Entry Distributors, and C&W Construction Specialties.
A few things.
A few things.
You wear a few hats.
Stay pretty busy, yeah.
Sounds like it.
No doubt.
Which is part of the reason why we at our company are trying to go both vertically and horizontally. Is Steve has been a mentor and a guy I look up to, that I see what he does and how he does it, and we've went on golf trips together, and
sure did.
We've actually wrestled on a golf course before, because Steve's big into sumo wrestling, which we're going to get into in a little bit.
I can't wait.
But I'm going to tell you this right now: this guy is a wealth of knowledge. He's a great mentor to me, and I wanted to have him come on here because I really think that as your fence company starts to grow and you see opportunities, you've got to expand on that and keep it going so you can be, wide and deep, not narrow and shallow.
Sure.
Let's start talking about, so was Fence Factory the original business that your father started, or?
No, it was C&W.
Okay.
C&W Fence Company was what it was. And
Okay.
He bought that in 1965 in Ventura, California.
Okay.
All they did was install fences for Sears and Montgomery Ward at the time, so it was all residential.
Yeah.
My dad turned it into a union operation.
Okay.
And the funny thing about it is once he became union, he started doing all this big fence work.
Yeah.
But he kept on getting calls for residential stuff.
Okay.
So he started Ventura Fence right after that, just to take care of those calls, and it turned into Fence Factory a few years later, and we expanded it and did a whole lot of other stuff after that.
Very good. Very good. So what's the main business of Fence Factory, if you could break it down?
Fence installation, fence material sales.
Okay.
And basically everything that surrounds those items, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, and he has branches in that. You call it Central
Southern California.
Central Southern California. The LA area
Yep.
has different branches and
LA
branch
up north.
managers and.
Okay.
On the coast mostly, right?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So installation and sales, or material sales, that sort of thing.
That's the Fence Factory side.
Yeah.
We've also got Fence Factory Rentals, which is a completely different division that does rent-a-fence and portable toilets.
I like that.
Yeah.
So our main competition in my market is a portable toilet. The BWI, they do portable toilets, but now they've also gotten into temporary fencing, which made me scratch my head and said, wait a minute, well, if they could do fence, I bet we could do portable toilets probably.
Cross-pollination, why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes sense because you're on the same job site. The best question anybody can ask, and I don't care if you're building fence, you're doing anything, best question to ask your customer is, what else do you need? What other problems can I help you solve while I'm here? They already know you and trust you. They're already doing business with you.
Sure.
What else is there that I could help you with? So I guess that's where the rentals came in.
It's funny you say that, actually, because we started doing rent-a-fence probably in 1995, and we had a lot of construction customers that were asking for us to do the toilets because some of our competitors were doing the fence and the toilets too.
Okay.
And they just wanted one invoice.
Right.
So we went out and bought a couple toilets, and honestly, believe it or not, at that time it was temporary fence with portable toilets on the side.
Yeah.
It's totally switched. It's
Really?
portable toilets with temporary fence on the side now.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, it's really taken over. It's done a terrific job, but it's like being Toucan Sam, follow your nose.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
It's kind of what it is.
Toucan Sam. I like that.
And so that probably opens you up to new opportunities, not just construction sites, but probably event rentals and that sort of thing.
Well, we started another division called Event Factory Rentals.
Okay, all right.
And we do weddings, we do wine festivals, beer festivals, any kind of party.
Yeah.
We have those luxury trailers with the air conditioning, and all the nice running water, hot and cold, and all that. And we even got if you want it, we've got a CD player in there, and you can loop whatever you want. One of my friends rented one of those things for a wedding, and he looped a CD of Henny Youngman jokes through the whole thing.
I love it.
I don't know if you want to get out of there quicker or not when you're listening to Henny Youngman. Yeah.
A little bit of, my team, Jamie, Scott, Sarah, Melanie, they will all tell you, oh my goodness, can we please not start another division or another company? But a little bit, I tell them, if a customer's asking for something and it's low-hanging fruit, and they pay their bills, why don't you want to go provide a service for them?
Yeah.
It just makes sense. And I've literally have stolen some of these ideas from Steve, and when I see him doing something, I'm like, holy cow, I might not get in the Porta-John business, but why I started a fab shop was I wanted to be able to make my own handrail. I got tired of the guys making my handrail, weren't making it right, weren't measuring it right, weren't performing, and would give me a deadline of 2 weeks and I'd get it in 4. Well, now my customer's upset with me. Well, when you and I talked about that 3 or 4 years ago, you said you got to have that so you can control that a little bit better. I mean, you probably don't remember because it was right before a meeting that we were getting on, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a fab shop. And the fab shop started with 1 welder and just really small, and now we've got 7 guys welding, and it's really growing nicely. So, but that's why
great.
You've been a good inspiration for me.
Dude.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think when you read success stories of businesses of all different stripes and colors, I think the most successful ones solve their own problems, right? So,
for sure.
So Matt, your problem was handrail wasn't coming in right or on time, so you solved your own problem. Okay,
Right.
well, I bet I could do this better, so let's give that a try.
Which I've got something that relates directly to that. I got into the vinyl business, fabrication of vinyl and selling wholesale, because of brand A couldn't provide us what we needed. So we just started our own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
done
vinyl
well.
craft,
Vinyl
right?
craft, right?
Yep.
Vinyl craft. All right,
Yep.
very good. So similar story. So we were having a hard time. This was during the pandemic. We were having a hard time with supply issues on getting in chain link. It was behind schedule. It's hard to get a hold of and that sort of thing. So we ended up buying a wire weaving machine. Started a company to weave wire. So it was 14 weeks to get this particular order of wire, or 16 weeks to get the machine to weave it. Well, I'll wait 16 weeks and we'll get the machine, and I'll never wait for wire again. So it's funny how we get a group of people assembled, and it's just, you hear a lot of similar stories.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot of cross-pollination in this industry anyway,
Yeah, absolutely,
for sure.
Plus, it's fun to help each other out. I have to be at least in the top 5 of your sales, right? On one job, didn't we help you sell one job?
Top
It was
5? Yeah, you're really close.
I mean, I only sold one job for you.
yeah.
But I got to make maybe top 10.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm in the top 10 of his top salesmen.
Yeah, very good, very good.
That's bragging.
That's bragging.
Well, and you were our very first roll of wire.
And I wanted to be his
is that
first
right?
roll
Yeah.
of
Oh,
wire.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He told this story yesterday to where he got a hold of me because I told him we were doing this, and he goes, okay, well, I want to send you a purchase order. Like, well, we just got the machine. We still have to train on it. We still have to get. He goes, I know. But I'm going to send you this purchase order because I want to be customer 1. I want to be roll 1.
You'll never forget me, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Well,
not.
and
We did it.
I did that because I learned, because Mike Lovewell, Ray Hohe, those guys are our first couple customers. You were within the top 5.
Sure.
Bobby Batchelor believed in us in the top, probably in that top 10. So we've had some customers that have been important to me. Well, I wanted to kind of turn around and do that, take care of the same circle, which is what we need
really
in the
cool.
industry, right? We need to be teaching that next generation to take care of each other.
Without a doubt.
Right.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Absolutely.
As soon as Matt showed me that My Salesman thing, it just clicked. Oh, yeah. Why doesn't everybody have this?
Makes perfect sense.
It does.
All you have to do is watch a 5-minute demo, and you go, yes.
That's all I needed.
That's exactly what the business needs.
Without a doubt.
That's awesome.
It is.
So you're expanding into these different businesses. At what point? So you have them all separated. At what point does it make sense to separate businesses? And because you
good
see both
question.
sides of it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
see some of them that'll be one company, and they have divisions within that company. But then you see other companies that are.
All melted together.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. They're different business structures, business entities.
So I got a perfect example for you. When we first got into the temporary fence business, I had a manager that wanted to run the temporary fence business and run the local fence installation and material sales business. The problem that you had with that was that one of those is going to pay. one of them is going to get neglected because their focus is going to be on this. And when he's got a $20,000 fence installation job he's going to do, he's not going to go to that $2,000 temporary fence installation.
That's true.
So in my mind, it's just so logical. You set it up as a separate operation, and you have those guys focus on that. And that's what we did, and that's what we do, actually.
Sounds like a great setup. So you put someone in place that business is their responsibility.
That's right.
That they're obligated to push that business forward as far as possible.
That's exactly right.
Interesting.
And it works if you have the right focus on it. That's all. Just it's like these things, shine a bright light on it.
Yeah.
And stuff happens.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
that's right. That's awesome. Okay, so I have a favorite. Can we derail for a little bit?
Absolutely.
All right, so we go off to this golf trip. We're in Bandon Dunes playing golf, and the first night, Steve says, "Hey, we're gonna watch sumo wrestling." Now I'm not gonna kid you. I never watched sumo wrestling, knew nothing about it. I was kind of like, couple chunky guys rubbing bellies. I mean, that's what went through my head. I'm just being honest. And then we started watching it, and I picked out a guy. Who's my guy?
Waka Taka Kage.
Waka
Waka Taka
Taka
Kage.
Kage. I liked him because he wasn't as tall as the other guys, and he was still big. 6'3",
very muscular.
300 pounds, very muscular.
Oh, wow.
But the other guys are like 6'6", 500, 450?
450, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're huge.
Holy
So I thought, well, I like the little guy, right? I'm going to pick the little guy. Yeah. Well, so then I started watching it a little. So the whole rest of the week, every night we watched sumo wrestling. I grilled steaks, Nebraska beef.
Yeah,
Nice.
baby.
Yeah, I love Nebraska beef. And then every night we'd watch sumo wrestling. And I'm going to tell you what, I fell in love with it. Well, then like 2 years later, he won the world title.
Yeah, he just won it, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I knew how to pick winners the whole
You
time.
picked him. He's one of my favorites.
I love him.
Yeah.
And now I get the updates and all that. But I do appreciate that because they're hard work. It's hard work, and they're actually
blows you away. It's
really
not just
good.
fat guys, yeah.
Yeah. So, which is like us, right?
We're
hard
just
work.
fat
We're not
guys.
just fat guys.
We're not just
we work
fat guys.
hard.
That's right.
Hey, so a little bit of what's going on too is you have a next generation coming in.
Yes.
Your son Justin's going to be joining, which he's supposed to be here somewhere, and which I'm excited that I've got Benjamin, my son, coming in to be a second generation. He'll be your guys' third generation. Which is, we've had a lot of these talks about it,
Sure.
and we have decided that they will never know as much as us, right?
There's no way.
There's no way. Is that right, guys?
It's not possible.
So it's interesting that this table. So I'm on the other end of that conversation, right? So I'm the son of my father's business. So I will stick up for the sons right now and say, like, we might be on the more cutting edge of technology. Right, like we got our own tricks. Now we might not have as much knowledge, but we have devices on our person.
Wait a minute,
now
Steve.
that we can look up all sorts.
Can
of
you
stuff.
turn on your phone?
It's on, I think.
Yeah. Can you answer an email?
Yeah.
What more do we need to know? That's it.
You know, I got
That's
an
fair.
interesting
That's
story
fair.
for you that my dad gave me. He brought me a big painting, a big picture. It was a picture of an old World War II bomber and an F-15 in the background, right? The F-15's going like this, the bomber's going like this. And their quote on it is, "Youth and skill are no match for old age and treachery."
There you have it.
And that was sending a message to me.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
If we can stay on this topic for a minute, the transition from father to son, I'm pretty interested in that because I know it from my perspective, coming from the son. What is it like for you guys as fathers bringing, and it not just in this instance it's sons, but it could be daughters as well. What's it like bringing the next generation into the business?
Yeah, they got to want to first. They got to have a desire to be involved in it. I have a daughter too, but she wants nothing to do with the fence business. So, but that's okay. That's fine. Justin seemed like he picked it up pretty good, and he hung around the family his whole life. So he kind of learned things through osmosis just by being there, which we all did, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'd have to say, Ben went into accounting in college, and then went to work for a really, really good accounting firm. And I had kind of told him, hey, I'd like for you to go do something else for about 5 years.
Yeah.
We were growing rapidly, and I think it lasted 2.5, maybe 3 years, and him and I had a very heart-to-heart talk of, are you sure you want to come into this? Don't do it for the sake of feeling pressure, like you just said, you have to want to do it. And which I was very fortunate, because Steve doesn't know this. I was watching his and Justin's relationship ahead of time to say how is he going to roll this out.
Right.
And you didn't really send him away to do something else, but you send him to a different division, which maybe that could be a topic for another time. But
A number of them, yeah.
But what I loved was that Ben called me up and said, "Dad, I'm ready." And then he came on. We picked the date, and then he came on. And he knows that he has to start from the ground up. And he's dug holes through high school, and he's cleaned toilets, and my daughters have cleaned toilets, and I think that's a good way to bring the kids
That's
up.
the only way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to learn it from the ground up. You really do.
Absolutely. I think that's an interesting subject to talk about too. Is having them work either outside the business or in a different part of the business. And so I'm kind of going through that now, where I've got a daughter that's 14. So this last year she came and worked for us over the summer for her first time, and so we're starting to have this thought, right? And when you read about successful families that bring in second and third generation, there's a common theme that they typically want them to go work in another business for a period of time, and the period of time varies. But to go, maybe it's to go pick up a different skill set that the core company doesn't have yet, or maybe it's just to see what else is out there before they come into the business. I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on that.
And exposure from other people. I mean, I think that's the most important thing, and I've seen it on both sides. When I came in, my old man sent me to different branches too, to learn under other managers that we had, which was the most valuable thing he could have done for me. And I had other siblings that actually just worked directly with the old man.
Okay.
And you saw that they get stuck in his path, right, in his wheel treads.
Absolutely.
And for me, that really wasn't my cup of tea anyway, and that's the way he saw it. So I just went and learned from these other guys, and I learned a heck of a lot more than I probably would have if I just stuck around him. And I think he knew that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Ben got to go work for an accounting firm, and I love that he got that. But he helped us put one of our very first nets together years earlier in our garage, because it was just Jamie, myself, and Scott. And so I would build the nets and put the clips on and get it all prepped. So he's been doing it since he was little.
Sure.
But I love the fact that he got to go work for an accounting firm and kind of meet new people and see a way a business is ran. And I definitely don't want him to do what I'm doing. I want him to do things his way and the way he wants to do it someday when his time is right. And a little bit of it is Jamie and Scott right now are my next generation leaders. Those two guys. And I love it because neither one of them think like I do. We all accent each other really well, and I think that's part of the secret sauce is to surround yourself with people that aren't yes men.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the most dangerous place to be is in an echo chamber.
Yeah, that's
Where
right.
you say, "Hey, I've got a great idea," and then the whole table says, "You know what? I think that's right.
Yeah,
Let's
you're
do
right,
that."
boss.
Right. Yeah, you got it, bud. And then
you don't have to be a pushover either, right?
Right,
You
right.
can stand and say, nope, this is our core values.
for
This is
sure.
where we're going. But having somebody push you out of your comfort zone, that's healthy.
That's
I think.
worth so much.
is.
Yeah, you can't even say how much that's worth, honestly.
Well, in our business, so my sister Sarah is in the business with us, and with my dad. My dad's in the business as well, but she and I do really well because we're in a lot of times yin and yang on whatever subject it is, whatever we're talking about. She's the counterpoint to my point, and you really do need that.
Right.
So somebody to say, hey, have you thought about this unintended consequence? Or you're making some assumptions here that I don't think are logical, right? You almost need that person. And the understanding, though, needs to be, I am willing to hear input. Like, I need that. But we are, ultimately, there is one person making a decision, right? But you need to have that person, though, is the point, is get out of an echo chamber and have someone that is the opposite of you, or at least has a counterpoint.
Yeah, the Japanese version would be called open kimono.
Okay.
Wait a minute. All right. Say that again. Say that
Open kimono.
Open kimono.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything's open.
Everything.
Yeah. Everything's here to be seen.
Right.
Yep.
I love it. I
Yep.
love that philosophy. I hope the next generation, or in ours, which would be Scott and Jamie, and then hopefully Ben, will pick a couple other leaders, because I really also believe that, you have Ralph Silva.
Yes.
What a wonderful human being. He's been really good to us also. He's the one that took us around to all your branches when we signed up My Salesman. And Jamie and I were playing Golden Tee, and we were hitting the Golden Tee pretty hard, and he sent us an invoice, a mock-up invoice that said I had to replace that Golden Tee machine you guys broke in some town along the way.
He keeps talking about that.
Yeah, he does. But you surrounded yourself with a guy like Ralph Silva that is your right-hand man.
I got lucky. He's like a brother now.
Yeah. Yep, which is great. I think that's good too. And you now have your sister. Holy cow! And she is what a breath of fresh air, and she does such a good job for you. And I think that's important to surround ourselves with. I think every good leader has to have a right and a left hand, or a right hand at least, or something like that to kind of push them a little bit.
And challenge you. Yeah, you need to be challenged.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean, complacency kills. That is absolutely the truth. Is so you can't get complacent, and that can be in a mindset, that can be in a particular growth avenue. You can't get complacent. You have to have somebody there that pushes you and challenges you.
And it makes it fun.
Absolutely.
It makes it a lot more fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, guys, so speaking of the next generation, we've got them right off camera, and they are absolutely chomping at the bit to get up here.
Well, wait a minute. You know that we're the better looking of the four of us, right? Us two, we carry that. We are the eye candy in this relationship, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, Ben looks just like you. And I'm like, no, I'm way better looking than him.
Now listen,
he might be smarter, but I'm way better looking.
You're putting me in a pretty awkward situation here because I have to talk to them next. So I can't agree or disagree. We're just I'm gonna be Switzerland in this.
We're gonna let them in there, but I'm gonna tell you, if they start telling any stories about him and I wrestling on the golf course, they're true.
Yeah, they're true.
Okay. Well, good to know. Good to know.
One thing that Matt didn't mention.
Yeah.
My favorite sumo wrestler.
Yeah. Oh yes.
His name is Tobi Zaru.
Tobi Zaru.
That means flying monkey in Japanese.
I love it.
I love the flying monkey.
This guy also speaks Japanese.
No,
this
not very well.
A little more than I do.
More than you do. That's true.
All right.
That's fair.
That's not saying a lot.
All right, we're gonna get off, and let's let us.
Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
I do.
Let's let the next two guys come up. Come on, Benjamin.
And guys, as you're watching, feel free to drop questions, comments in the comments below. We can see the comments or questions as they come up, and and we're live, so you got all sorts of stuff going on. But drop your comments, your questions in the comments below. We can see them, and we'll bring them up and talk about them as we go. Gentlemen, how are we?
Glad to be here.
Good. How do you follow that?
Way better.
Good.
No, I'm just kidding.
Good. All right. I like where this is headed already. Well, guys, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Ben Warner with Empire Netting and Fence / My Salesman / USS. All of the above. Kind of do it all. Yeah.
My name is Justin Bennett. I'm with Fence Factory, Vinyl Craft, Electronic Entry Distributors, Event Factory Rentals, Fence Factory Rentals, and Perimeter Security Systems.
Our fathers did not make it easy on these introductions.
No. You almost need to just write it on the back of your. All right, let's make sure we don't miss one. Right. Well, very good. Well, guys, let's talk about what it's like for a minute. We talked about what it's like for the fathers bringing in the sons. Let's talk for a minute on what it's like for a son coming into the company. That's kind of a conversation I know a little bit more about than the father. We're not there yet with my kiddos, but what was it like from your guys' perspectives coming into a father's company?
Good.
Well, it's definitely a little bit of, there's a lot of pressure going into it, especially if me growing up in the business, I never realized that it was how big it really was. And so people keep telling me, oh man, this is a pretty big business, pretty daunting. I didn't really realize it. And then you start working in it and you see there's a lot of different pies to put your finger in. It's a little daunting at sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'm really competitive and I want to be better than him, and that's kind of what drives me.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd follow up very similar. It's you hold a title by your last name. There's no avoiding it.
Right.
You come into, I think Matt has 80 some employees, and you come in and everybody knows who you are. They're like, hey, Ben. I'm like, hey, remind me your name.
Hey.
So there's just that standard that hits you right in the face, kind of, of, all right, well, it's go time, and I'm ready to be here, but I've got a lot to learn, and
Absolutely.
There's a lot of weight on your shoulders and a fact of you've got to perform,
Sure,
So.
sure. Well, and pressure is the right word, because you almost get pressure from both sides, right? So at least in my experience, my dad felt pressure to show to others that I wasn't getting preferential treatment, right? So sometimes maybe went out of his way to prove that I wasn't getting special treatment. But then from the other side, everyone else just assumed I was. So I would get a little bit extra pressure on that end too. Whether in my dad, this was a blessing in disguise. We talked about the last interview, in that I didn't think it was a blessing at the time, but I started putting bolts on nuts and assembling hardware and fabricating gates and just kind of work my way up. And so I got a lot of pressure from the other guys around that, I was just here to learn for a little bit and then move on. And so pressure is the right word. You kind of catch pressure from both sides.
Yep.
Yeah, similar process in the fact of, Matt started out of the garage and spring clipping nets at 9 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. But he goes, "Hey, son, you want to?" I'm like, "Sure."
Yes.
And so it's fun to see that process, as well. A lot of these guys have been with the company for a long time, but I've been behind the scenes with the company for a long time. So
well, and you guys have a little bit extra insight, because also you see what it's like at home after you clock out and you head home, and the work conversation continues at the dinner table and afterwards, and you never really stop working.
No, especially lately, since I've been trying to take more of a role, hands-on role in how things are run for some of our divisions. It definitely never stops. It's all day, every day, 24/7.
No, and I think that's kind of a unique perspective that we get to see that and my mom and my dad work together in the business. So like little arguments that start at the office, they get brought home and they continue on. But it gives us that unique perspective, though, right? That mindset that we're not clocking off at 5 or 4 or whenever. Like, you don't actually ever clock off. The cell phone still rings.
yeah, your phone's on, you're clocked in.
That's right. That's right. You're still getting emails. You're still like the technology follows you wherever you're at. But I think that's an experience that you need, so that you're not shocked by it when you come in and go, wait a minute, no, I'm done with work for today. No, you're not. You're working for another 5 or 6 hours until you finally turn the phone off.
And I don't know if it's true about you, but I think those are the most valuable conversations to have. Hey, Matt, what are you doing for dinner? Well, partially because then I won't have to pay for it, but also like those are the conversations that you can have when nobody else is really listening, and
right.
You can kind of you dive deeper. You can only say so much and do so much, but you can be more intimate at home, around the kitchen table, and I think those are the value. That's the value.
Well, and you can ask vulnerable questions.
Yeah.
Right, that you wouldn't necessarily ask in a group setting, because for a variety of reasons, but you almost get that, just that more intimate setting where you can be vulnerable for a little bit, and that cuts both ways. That cuts both ways as well. But I think you guys would probably agree with me that I feel as a more complete business owner, you guys are coming into that role for having that. Yep. Right, instead of just buying into a franchise or whatever the other instances might be, I really feel like we're more well-rounded to come into a business and operate it effectively.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think what's really important is, no matter what kind of business you have, if you have to get them starting from the ground up, doing everything. I started when I was California, 14 is when you can start legally working.
Okay.
I've been coming to these kind of functions since I was a little kid, but 14 I would just weave together rolls of chain link in the yard and sweep up and pull fittings and get the trucks ready for the next year.
Clean the toilets.
Yeah, I've cleaned a lot of porta potties. I know what hard work is, and I'm not afraid of it. I think it's really important that the guys that you're going to be leading in the future know that you're not going to ask them to do anything that you won't do yourself.
Yes, absolutely, that you haven't done.
Yes. I
think that's an important thing to get out there, is like, listen, guys, it's important that you know my story, because know that when I ask you to do it, I've already done it. I understand it's August, and I'm asking you to go dig holes today. I get it, because I've been there. I've done it. It's not going to be fun, but that is one of the parts of the process of us getting paid for this fence, so it's a necessary part. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just a random individual that comes into the company and just starts barking orders. Like, no, we've done that. We've done that.
And I think what's funny is you move up and then you really miss being out in the field. Like, I would much rather be out in the field than being in an office taking phone calls.
Right.
I think sometimes you kind of just got to go out there and work with them yourself just to kind of get away from it, but then just reminds them that you're going to do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Absolutely. And it's funny because when the role was reversed, when I was working on the crews, I couldn't wait to get into the office. I was like, all right, once I get out of high school, I can transition into sales, and that gets to be in the office or in a truck. That would be great. Well, then I got into it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There are a lot of days where I think there was something to this digging holes because I had one job.
Yeah.
And as long as I did that job really well, it was a successful day.
Yep.
Where now it's like there are a multitude of jobs to do on any given day. But I think you're right. There's some days where I miss being out in the field.
Yeah, and I think that learning curve too is amplified. Speed. First of all, you learn it way faster, but two, your knowledge when you are in the office and you have those important phone calls, you're not just making stuff up.
Sure.
You're not the guy who just showed up in the office to go to work. You've been there, you've done it, and so I'm kind of like 70% field, 30% office right now, just as I'm growing. And the few phone calls that I've had to have, that has been so valuable to just, I literally know how that net is hung. Those conversations, so much easier and so much more valuable.
Well, and you can articulate it better.
Yeah.
Because you've had hands-on experience with whatever the question may be. Why did you move a hole when you were digging it? Well, because let me talk to you about utilities, and let me talk to you about this and the other, instead of just saying, well, that's what the guy said it had to do. You can articulate to the customer better. You can also articulate to your team members better too.
Yeah.
This is the reason, because back, when I was doing it, these were the problems we had when we tried it this other way. That's why we have the current whatever the current process is in place. It helps you explain the why better.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I'm switching gears here a little bit. One of the companies you mentioned was EED.
Yes.
Is that right? So, when you're explaining the companies, I'm checking them off in my head. I'm like, I know. That's one that I'm not clear on. Can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, so EED is electronic entry distributors. We have 7 locations across the country. We can service anybody in the United States. Our locations are going to be in Tampa, Dallas, Atlanta, Indianapolis, and then we have Fresno, Los Angeles, and Sacramento.
Okay, what do you guys do?
So we distribute access controls and gate operators. So if you need help with anything access control or gate operator wise, you give us a call, and we have dedicated sales reps to go out and visit you. A lot of these other guys, they don't really go out and visit you. We will go and visit you, talk to you, help you out whatever way we can.
So the gate operators, the accessories that go with them, the keypads, the loops, the accessories that go with them, the safety devices probably as well.
Yep, anything you need, and if there's something that we don't carry, we'll find it somewhere, and we'll be able to get it to you if you need it.
Very good, very good. Are there brands that you guys like carrying more than others?
We have a pretty good relationship with LiftMaster. We do a lot of Door King, Cellgate, all the major players, Viking, all those guys.
I probably asked you a really uncomfortable question, and I apologize. As soon as I said that, I was like, oh, I'm going to put him on the spot for a minute, and that's not what I intended to do.
No worries.
All right, so EED is a company that provides gate operators access controls and accessories. Very good. If you were, but you listed off a whole host of companies. You're one person, right? So which of those companies do you find yourself working more in?
So right now I took over our perimeter security system. So we have 5 Fence Factory locations throughout Southern and Central California. And so we have a division that does all of the gate operators, and we started doing garage doors and commercial overhead doors as well. Okay. And so we have that one business that basically just goes out to all of our other locations' jobs and installs the gate operators for them.
Makes sense. That makes sense. So that's what you find yourself working more in?
Yep. But going back to the earlier conversation in EED, that was probably one of the most valuable places I went. So I know Ben went and did accounting as part of kind of getting away from the business. So I was in Dallas. I moved to Indianapolis for about a year. I opened up our Indianapolis location, but working directly under the general manager for EED, Hobie Allen. I learned so much from doing that. It was It was working for a family company, but without working for a family company. It was something completely different. I wasn't answering to Steve. I was answering to Hobie. It was
Those are the good old days.
different. Yeah, that was the good old days.
Absolutely. Ben, so you also listed off a host of companies.
Yeah.
Which one do you find yourself working more in?
Yeah, so I am in the, so I work for Empire mostly.
Okay.
And then within Empire, there's, you have the netting, the sports construction, residential, commercial fence. And so I'm primarily in the netting division.
Okay.
And so I'm working alongside USS, Unlimited Sports Solutions, with all of their products. So it's kind of nice having them for materials and all of that standpoint.
Sure.
That's kind of the world I live in,
Okay.
for the most part anyways.
Okay. Very good. Did you guys find yourselves gravitating towards that? Did you find yourself gravitating towards EED and towards netting, or were you more guided in that direction?
It was go here and figure it out, take care of it. That's kind of how it goes.
Sure.
But I'm happy to do whatever they want me to do. As long as I'm learning something or trying to improve something, I'm okay with it.
That's fair.
I was, so I actually spent multiple summers in college working for Empire. So started out digging holes for residential fence one summer. Next summer did a little bit of commercial, like ran my own crew, kind of temp fence, easy jobs. Spent a summer doing the sales just throughout college. And so I'd kind of, dip my fingers in a little bit of everything.
Sure.
And so I knew what I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And so then I was kind of like, I have this uncle and he's kind of tough to work for, but I really don't want to do fence. So I'm like, okay, fence, mean uncle, so.
You had to weigh out the pros and the cons.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So Jamie runs the netting division. So that's kind of where I took my path then. So it's been kind of fun.
Very good. Where do you guys see, so looking into the future, say looking at a 5-year plan, where do you guys see yourselves in 5 years? 5 years is a flexible number. Where do you see your guys in the future?
I'm hoping I'll be more in the corporate office and not. I've been kind of like a fix-it guy, so I've been trying to take care of all the branches that are having problems. So I'm hoping I'm kind of doing more strategic things in the office all the time. I was at corporate office for about a month, and then I got sent out to do something else, so I haven't been back there.
Sure.
But I'm actually, one thing my dad did with my grandpa was he was sat in his office, and that's where he was, 2 desks in the same office.
Yep.
I was fighting that at first, but now I'm like, that's probably the most valuable thing I could ever do. So I'm hoping I'll be doing that by then.
Very good, very good. I think there's something to that, having a desk in the office, because it gets you in the conversations, it gets you in the thought process, that sort of thing. I think that's a smart place to be.
So like I said, kind of 70% field, 30% office right now. So kind of transitioning into that project management role within the netting and sports construction world, I think would be kind of a good 5-year goal, of I love to manage people, I love to be a leader, and kind of fitting, I can kind of do that now as a foreman for one job.
Sure.
I think it would be awesome to be able to run, the scheduling, the questions, of everything going on, the bidding and estimating and all of that. So that's kind of where I see that going with how fast that the netting division is growing and how popular it's becoming. Be kind of the 5-year goal.
I think those are both good goals. Guys, if you could give advice to someone out there watching that maybe is a younger generation coming up into the family business, what advice would you give that person?
I'd probably just tell them, if you're having fun, go for it. If it's something that you're not having fun with, you're just not gonna. I've seen a lot of people kind of run companies into the ground, or I've seen people go out of business because whoever took over next just was not having fun with it. So as long as you're having fun, go for it, go all in.
One thing that actually, before I started last August, Justin and I had talked about it, because I was asking him, how long have you been?
15 years, but probably 7 years.
Yeah. So knowing that he's had that history and working, like, I asked him, I was like, what am I getting myself into?
Sure.
With the last name and all of that. And I think one of the most valuable things he told me, which is obvious, but earn your stripes. Like,
Yep.
Don't let anybody outwork you,
Yep.
because that is what will be most valuable later on. You know, it doesn't matter what else is going on around you if you don't have the respect of those people. And so I think that was one of the great pieces of advice that Justin shared with me. So that's what I would pass on as well, is just don't be outworked.
I think that's a great piece of advice, because sometimes you see people take shortcuts because of the last name or because of the
because they
position,
can. They have
because
that
they can.
ability.
But they always end up paying for that.
Yep.
Right? Everyone knows that a shortcut was taken. So there's a little bit more respect involved when the shortcuts weren't taken, when the stripes were earned, so to speak. Guys, we covered a bunch of ground. There. Any last thoughts that you guys have that we can talk about? You'd like to talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do you want to tell the golf sumo wrestling
About them playing playing golf and doing sumo?
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I was really hoping one of you would.
It is.
Well, okay, so my dad, Steve, he's really into sumo, like more than most people who live in Japan would be into sumo.
Okay.
And so he was in the Marine Corps, so he was stationed at Okinawa for almost 2 years. And so he fell in love with the culture for the most part. And then he stumbled upon NHK one day, which is a Japanese cable channel that's on some TV providers. And so then he just started going head first into sumo, and he's been obsessed with it. We took a golf trip out to Oregon with Matt and a couple other people in the fence industry, and they weren't even drinking. I don't even know how this started. And so we started watching sumo, and then you know how Matt is. As soon as he gets something, he runs with it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so before you know it, they're on a tee box just putting their hands on the ground, going sumo full bore at each other, trying to knock each other over. Without alcohol, too. That's always the crazy thing.
If that doesn't explain who they are as people, then I don't know what will.
Yeah, and I don't think Matt will ever get his favorite sumo wrestler's name right, ever.
I can't say what he told me the name was, like, without being banned and things, but it was not the name that your dad Steve gave for him. It was a slightly different name.
Just a little bit.
Guys, I appreciate you guys coming up. I'd like to keep up with you guys. I'd like to have you guys on from time to time, because I think this is the generational transfer. I think this is a conversation that's coming up more and more in the industry. I mean, I think that's the point in time that the industry is in, that these conversations are happening more often, where the parents are passing it down to a child, and they're trying to figure out, what does that process look like? There's not an answer, right? There's not any one answer. But what I hope is we can provide kind of a rough roadmap of here's my experience, here's your guys' experiences, here's your dad's experience, and can we all get together and try to help the next person going through this navigate a little bit better. Because I'll give you a little warning here. It's not smooth sailing. It's never smooth sailing. You know, my dad had an idea how he wanted it to go, and I had a different idea about how it would go. But it was a win because it was really kind of a mixture of neither one of us were really happy with it, but neither of us were really upset with it either. So I feel like it went well. But it would be interesting to follow you guys through your journey coming into the businesses and just becoming what that process looks like.
Absolutely.
Very good. Guys, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert. This is the second interview, third interview, of more to come. I appreciate you guys being with us, being so giving with your time. As always, I appreciate Matt Warner for making the Know Before You Go studio a reality. I appreciate this a lot. Having a stage to talk on means a lot. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys for watching. Until next time, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And I'll see you next time.